We are back from the international break, a rip-roaring run of 11 rounds in 45 days in the EFL Championship coming up to take us to FA Cup round 3, and we start with a 0-0. Welcome to Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. I mean, we have been spoilt for goals over the last couple of years. So in the absence of any today, David, would you like me to ask you about Leif Davis signing a new contract or Mark Ashton walking around the training ground holding a cup of coffee?
I mean, probably. I'll perhaps leave, if Joe doesn't mind, leave Mark Ashton and his coffee to Joe, because I'm sure he knows a lot more about that than I do. But yeah, Leif Davis up till 2029, so another three and a bit years potential on his contract. Obviously, protection of one of our key assets still. So, yeah, good luck. And I think he's got, did I also see on Telegram, on Instagram, that he's got a new arrival due soon as well. So double celebration in the Davis household. Yeah, good for him. Still, I think he's having another really good season, albeit perhaps slightly playing a different role. Anyway, perhaps we'll get onto that later on.
What do you think those negotiations look like, Joe?
It's difficult because you assume to sign a new contract at this point, there must be a reason for it, because he still had 2.5 years left to run on it. So hopefully it's not got something hidden in there that we find out about in the summer transfer window if we haven't gone up or something along those lines. But there's obviously got to be a reason for him to sign it. I don't know whether we've just given him a bit more money to lose a clause. I don't know. It's hard to know. But yeah, well deserved new contract for him. And yeah, hopefully we get to see him play out that contract as well.
I'd just like to say before this next segment, this is not a performative cup of coffee. This is a very necessary cup of coffee, being how little sleep I've had. But Joe, Mark Ashton and his cup of coffee had a little wander around the training ground. It's a long interview that the media team put out. Did you manage to pull out any nuggets from Mr. Ashton? Was it you who asked the question about the Cat 1? People keep saying about that. I'm sure that was Joe.
Of course it was.
Yeah, no, it was in the fans forum where, I don't know, maybe some of the language around why we weren't going Cat 1 to why we're now going it has changed, but we all wanted to be there and we are there now. So the who's, why's, where's, what's don't really matter. It's just a good thing that we are there. And yeah, the training ground's looking fantastic. And I think this is the sort of thing you need to do to help attract players. This is their home, effectively their office, their workplace. Yeah, having the stadium looking great is all well and good, but they're there sort of one day a fortnight, where the training ground is where they spend all their time to getting that to state-of-the-art facilities, as we've seen. I think Mark Ashton's previously done it. Bristol City, and you see the sort of Robbins Performance Centre that they have there, and yeah, it looks fantastic. And I'd imagine he's learnt a lot in delivering that project, and this one will be even better because, like I say, if anyone's done any building work, you learn lessons during it, and as you get to the other side, if you do it again, you then sort of have more things that you wish you'd have done this and wish you'd have done that. So yeah, there'll be on that side. But yeah, no, that's the first really we've seen of it. I think if you've been up the training ground, you can see sort of parts of the structure up there. You can see parts of the road being done coming off the street rather than on Playford Road. But yeah, great for the men's team to go across there. Great for the academies team who'll have the old men's building, and the women's team as well have all that. So upgrade for everyone.
Just quickly, Joe, just very quickly, am I right or am I wrong in just change the tack slightly, but still on Category 1 Academy, if our near neighbours get relegated, do they lose their Cat 1 status?
No, it's just it's totally separate from your position, because like Reading have got Cat 1 status, for example. They're in League 1, have been for a fair while.
Didn't realise that. Okay,
there you go, Dave. These sort of things are just kind of, is it international break fluff or nice for the fans to see what's going on?
Of course it is. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, just sort of filler really from the international break, isn't it, really? And he's very good at that. Isn't he? So, yeah, exciting times.
Yeah, speaking of exciting times, shall we get on to Saturday then? Because we were back for round 16 and the start of a 3-game week, back to Portman Road. And a bit of a, what's the cliche, Dave? A bit of a damp squib in the end. Ipswich 0, Wrexham 0. We'll get into the minutiae, but yeah, nice. we're going to talk a lot about the difference between a healthy performance that's pleasing on the eye given by the team versus the league table looking good and the results tracking nicely. That's the conversation a bit today, isn't it?
You need to try and strike that balance, but it's so difficult where, we know we've probably, we've got the best squad in division, and it's the expectation level, isn't it? And we are falling a little bit short, but it's really, I hate this expression, but it's really, really fine margins in all these. Well, certainly the last two home games, we'll get onto it, but, Watford game, Azon scores a header, 2 more points. Yesterday, McAteer scores 2 more. You're third, aren't you then, I think? A third with a game in hand. It's just very, very fine margins. But, incredibly frustrating when you dominate possession. And you just don't get the win.
Is it going to be a frustrating conversation ahead, Joe?
Yeah, I think it's important to keep it in perspective, though, of sort of where we are in the league and how we are going in the right direction. But I guess it's sort of obviously most Ipswich fans who go to matches, go to the home matches. You think there's 29,000 at a home match, there's 2,000 at an away match. So you end up, you look at it, and the last 4 home games, you've got the sort of Charlton debacle, the West Brom grind out 1-0 with a sort of late goal, the Watford game 1-1 where you can't find that goal, and then yesterday's 0-0. So it's sort of it's 4 games at home since the Norwich game, I think, was obviously the last one before that. So 4 home games where they've all been pretty unenjoyable, I'd say, in the main. And Kieran McKenna spoke about this at the fans forum last week. It was really interesting, sort of his viewpoint, sort of saying how last time we were in the Championship, because we weren't the favourites, the average ball in play time is 57 minutes. This year it's been 48 minutes for us because teams are just coming here to stop us. And you see that from Wrexham yesterday. And I don't even think they did that well at stopping us. We were just poor.
We didn't score, Joe.
In the final third. But I mean, it wasn't like one of those ones where you think, bloody hell, absolute defensive masterclass from them. It was one where it's like, actually, they gave us some sniffs and we just weren't good enough at executing in the final third and didn't get it done. And it's a good point for them to drop points for us. But when you look at the form table, I think we've got 11 points over 5. We're the only team in the league who hasn't lost in their last 5 games. I think Coventry have got 12 points. I think maybe
Wrexham are already.
Us
and Wrexham are the longest undefeated run, so it was kind of destined to be a draw, wasn't it?
And so you look at the table, and we are, other than Coventry, we are reeling everyone in. It's probably at a slower pace than we'd like, but it's 11 points from 5 games. That's a healthy return across those. But maybe people would have rather seen us draw away at Swansea and win yesterday at home. So
amen.
It doesn't work that way, but we've got a tough week.
I'm sure Alan Sheehan
would
have appreciated that as well, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Davis, it's going to be the world's smallest violin, though, isn't it? If you've now gone to a position where you've got more money and a better squad, then you've got to deal with this, and it may be less entertaining for the fans, but this is what we wanted in terms of being a dominant force in this league, hopefully.
Yeah, and we've got to come up against. I think someone mentioned in the chat that we've played against 3-5-2 formations in the last one and a bit Championship seasons, and I think I put it down there. I think won twice, drawn 3, lost 4. So clearly we just haven't quite found that formula. And I think this season it was Wrexham yesterday and lost against Preston and Charlton as well. And Joe's right, it was in the final third yesterday, and a lot of it was just down to poor decision making, really, just poor decision making, and chances perhaps falling to players who were just at this moment in time. Akpom's one, McAteer to a degree. I mean, he should score that from where he is, but I'll put that to lack of confidence. But just taking one touch more just to make certain, where I'm sure Akpom in a couple of situations yesterday, 2 seasons ago at Borough, would have got the ball out of his feet and just hammered it in the corner. It's just how it is at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we still haven't found that solution to that 10 role, really, have we? Certainly not at home anyway.
No, it's really noticeable. And like I say, just looking at the attacking players, when we're talking about people being in form, confidence, like Azon, 1 goal this season. And that was the 4th goal in a 4-1 win, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Third. Nunez has got 2 goals, both from free kicks against QPR, so no open plays goals, no assists. Agelli, no goals, 1 assist. Spodix, no goals, no assists. Akpom, no goals, no assists. McAteer, no goals, no assists. And then the guys at the start.
You spot the pattern, Dave.
Chaplin, Ogbene, Broadhead, Al Hamidi all played forwards at the start of the season. So between those, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's over 3,000 minutes of football, and it's one open play goal. And then you look at George Hurst, Jaden Philogene, Jack Clark, 2,500 minutes, so 500 minutes less, and they've got 17 goals between those three of them. Admittedly, a couple of penalties and stuff. So if I'm taking out from one, from the other, and it's just, and a lot of Philogene's goals, Clark's goals, they're very have been sort of individualistic goals.
Oh yeah,
we've created a lot without scoring a lot. But I mean, that number 10 role, not a single goal or assist from that all season in 15 games. It's just that can't go on.
And I know. Look, the ship has probably sailed with Chaplin. Look, it has. Let's all face it, it has. But I think in the last championship season, he had 13 goals, 21 either goals and assists. I mean, it's huge, absolutely huge. Having said that,
and Amari got 10 as well, didn't he?
Yeah, different circumstances this season. We're there. We are the big scalp, and teams are just going to come and play like that. And fair play to Wrexham, really. But yeah, crikey, it was a long way for their fans to come to see a performance like that. But in the end, celebrate a point, very much so.
Yeah, and I think just to kind of frame the type of opponent Wrexham were going to be, they've been improving after spending a fair bit in the summer and sort of building a new team. And B, we knew this type of football was coming. It's been 3 at the back, get the ball wide and try and get it into the box. And if you can get a midfielder up with Kabore, who didn't play, crossing it to Kiefer Moore, who didn't play, then, you can overload the penalty box. But invariably, stiff opponents, strong presence in midfield, good runners. And it was going to be that type of, sort of setup anyway.
Ironically, and they may have, probably their 2 best players, Broadhead aside, but ironically, that may have played more in our hands had Kabore and had more played. They probably would have played differently. Yeah, probably would have played totally differently. They played basically without any forwards. Yes, all right. Windass was making the occasional. Well, they had 3 touches in our box, didn't they? It's just crazy.
Talk about decision making, Dave, and we're kind of going a roundabout way to pad out what is essentially going to be a 0-0 draw to talk about. But the vast amount of decision making is made by Kieran McKenna, and this was his 11 to start a 3-game week with Walton. Davis and Furlong at fullback, O'Shea and Kipre in at centre back, Taylor and Matasiwa, Philogene and Igeli wide, Akpom off, Azon up top. Your thoughts on the professor's selection, David?
Well, again, as we know, it's a squad game. It's a 3-game week. We've got Hull coming up on Tuesday.
And a Friday nighter as well.
Oh, sorry, a Friday, of course. Yeah, a Friday nighter. Kipre, maybe I wasn't following Wrexham's how Wrexham were going to sort of pan out during the week. I know there was talk of Moore being injured, but you think, of course he's a spearhead, of course he'll play, and maybe that was why Kipre played in case of Greaves, perhaps with potentially one eye on that. I don't know. Look, he did persevere with that. He went again with Akpom in that 10 role, and I feel for Akpom because it's just not. There is a footballer there. People are saying, "Oh, they're terrible," and his touch and stuff. There is a footballer there, and I love it. He's got the touch and turn and drives. I still say he's a 9, but he's obviously not going to get a chance there. Well, unless things go wrong injury-wise, touch would it don't. But other than that, pleased to see Taylor there alongside Matasiwa. That's a good fix. So I think the only thing for me there really was the perhaps Kipre Greaves, and Akpom and potentially Kipre for Greaves.
Joe, with hindsight, would Kieran McKenna have picked a different 11?
I do think that by having sort of Eggerly and Azon there, you've got 2 other players who want to come in and get the ball. Where if you have Smodix, Hurst, McAteer, those three sort of stretch the pitch, and these 3 sort of narrow the pitch. So maybe
against the low block, isn't that what you want to do, Joe?
Everyone was just coming to the same area, though, weren't they? I think.
Well, don't do that. But do you know what I mean? As in, those other lads you listed, Joe, were all kind of runners, and that doesn't really work against a really deep block, does it?
Well, I don't know, but for me, I guess the big issue is I think that Azon is a big drop off from George Hurst in that 9 role,
The
and
start, yeah.
and when Azon comes on as sub, he looks good and sort of makes things happen. But when sort of in each game he started, I think he's probably been one of our poorer outfield players. So I think unless George Hurst was feeling something and couldn't go with that, I think you've just got to start like in the same way that every game last year we started Liam Delap until we sort of knew he was leaving and we were down. I think Hurst is just one of those players that's just got to start every game. And if he's out of form, he just needs to play his way back into it. I don't think he's particularly out of form. He's got 5 goals this year, hasn't he? And creates chances, does well, sort of moves defenders about
And it wasn't as if he got many minutes for Scotland, was it?
He got about 4 minutes, didn't he, I think?
Yeah, he did. Well, he didn't come on at all in the Denmark game, did he?
No.
His first game, wasn't it? So, yeah, I think you're right, Joe. He's got to stick with Hurst and certainly start with Hurst and let him play through it.
Wrexham lining up with Okonkwo in goal, Cleworth, Hyam and Scar, 3 centre-backs, Longman and McLean. So neither of the first-choice wing-backs in for Wrexham, and it's a really important part of their system as well. Dobson, Sheaf and Thomason. So no O'Brien, which was a surprise to me in the central midfield starting. And Windass and Smith up top. So obviously a lot of people mentioning in the Telegram that Wrexham beat Coventry, but the scorer of all 3 of their goals was not playing in this game. So 2 things, Dave. Arguably a weakened Wrexham team, but to your point, did that almost make up their mind to come for the clean sheet?
I think so. I think, what's the expression? Dogged. They were dogged, not dog-eared, dogged. A dogged display. Yeah, and you could see Parkinson in his interview afterwards. He was so pleased that it absolutely plan worked to an absolute T. However, yeah, down to poor decision making. And someone mentioned in the comments, perhaps not moving the ball on a bit faster. Also in that sort of final third, perhaps at times a bit too ponderous. Perhaps we kind of played into the hands of it.
I think, Joe, I think Parkinson's doing a pretty good job at Wrexham, considering their eyeballs on it the whole time. And if he loses back-to-back games at any point, his kind of job's up for grabs. I think they'll be somewhere in the middle, and I think that's a pretty decent first season for them. I don't know what your take on Wrexham is.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also, they started the season quite badly and were very sort of leaky at the back. But I think it's like their last 9 games, have let in 7 goals, maybe. So they've really tightened themselves up at the back, and yeah, they're not as free flowing going forwards as what they maybe have been in sort of previous leagues. But they're a decent side, and they're going to stay up comfortably, aren't they? Which is a big thing for them to do after sort of 3 promotions on the spin and basically having to get a whole new team this year. Yeah, they have signed players you'd expect to be sort of top half championship players. They've made some big signs, have spent a lot of money as you'd expect. But yeah, they do look a side that's going to sort of comfortably be able to stay up this year and then sort of start to look to push on in the coming years. Yeah,
absolutely. And just one more to mention, number 33 on the bench for Wrexham, the return of Nathan Broadhead. Dave, do you want to take us through the first half? And Joe, feel free to interject with anything of interest in a bit of an uneventful game.
I saw McKenna's post-match, and I kind of agree with him. I think we started quite brightly, didn't we? It was a really nice move right in front of me. Really clever play from Egley, where he sort of shuffles the ball. McLean, who was really tight to him all the time. He's very disciplined, McLean. McLean did okay in that wing-back role, to be fair. And he sort of shuffled the ball, I think, between McLean and maybe Hyam and played in Furlong. And again, Joe, his final ball wasn't great. He was in a great position, wasn't he? And he just didn't really pick anyone out with that final ball. I think not long after that, Egley had a shot, left foot, comfortable sort of save for the keeper. And it was all, you could see the pattern kind of emerging. We weren't really, other than that sort of Furlong cutback, we weren't really creating too much. Towards the end of the half, pretty good effort from, that wasn't a bad save actually, probably unsighted, really powerful effort, low effort from Philogene, which keeper gets down pretty well. So expecting to make the save, but he's well hit, and you see those ones sneak in. But other than that, they weren't offering anything. There was just a lot of, they were very well organised, and there was a lot of quite slow, ponderous play, really.
Joe?
Yeah, hard to disagree with much of that. It was slow. It was sort of we had sort of decent opportunities to hit them quickly when they were out of position, but we tended to wait, let them get back in position, and then be up against sort of 9 men in the box and putting crosses in, and the keeper held everything as well. He didn't punch anything until he got up and caught everything and slowed the game down where he could. And yeah, it was just I'd say there just wasn't a huge amount happening.
I'd say it was like it's all a bit safe. You know what I mean? Just safe. No one really, no one doing anything really different. Really, very, very safe.
Do you want to move us on to the second half, Joe? We're going to move through. I watched Joe. I watched the official EFL highlights of this before we came on, and the first action was in minute 44, which probably tells you all you need to know about about the first half. But yeah, I mean, maybe talk to me a little bit more about the game state then, Joe, because I'm sure as you get to half time, and as you described it, with Wrexham not offering a lot and we're huffing and puffing, surely you can foresee what might need to be done in the second half. But I'm sure you're going to clap back at me, Joe. Well, this is very binary. You either score or you don't in this type of game when you're the side who's pushing, yeah?
Yeah, and we started the second half again, started quite brightly. Philogene had a shot sort of right at the very start of the half that the keeper sort of gets behind and fumbles wide. Philogene has another shot which sort of Akpom manages to almost bring under control and does poke it towards goal, and the keeper makes a good save, probably his only real sort of good save of the game. The rest were pretty straightforward and standard for him. And yeah, the game just sort of not a huge amount happened. We had sort of a good break where Akpom sort of takes the ball, lovely sort of turn on halfway, gets away from his man, drives forward. He could play as on him, but sort of elects to, rather than pass, he then goes right and does a shot which is sort of blocked and was the wrong decision. And it's like, it did just seem every time when Akpom needed to shoot, he'd pass. And every time he needed to pass, he'd shoot. And it's just, I guess it's just, you're just trying to, he's obviously desperate. You could see the sort of visible frustration when things weren't going his way, when he was having shots blocked, when he was missing passes. You could see he was getting really angry with himself. And I guess once you're putting that pressure on you, you're then struggling even more. And I say yet to have any goal contributions from that role. And I guess he knows this is a big opportunity to get sort of into the Premier League. And at the moment, he's not taking it. Like I say, you could see it in him and made some changes. I think Eggerly has another one where they give the ball. This is what I mean there. Sort of gave the ball away there and we attacked. Eggerly, they gave the ball away to, and he comes in. Hurst sort of makes a good run around him, but it just almost like the keeper could sort of throw his hat on the shot. When you know what power he's got, it's just
that one infuriated more than anything. I think he's a great player. He's going to be a great player, Eggerly. But every single shot I've seen him take to that point, he puts his laces through everything, doesn't he? And the one time he's in a great position, just can hit it. Yeah. He just tries to place it in the far corner. He has a volley not far over, does he, Joe? That was on his right foot volley. I think the keeper had it probably covered. But yeah, the most frustrating one, Joe, was going to come a bit later on, wasn't it?
Well, Casey McKenna, yes.
Yeah. But, it's a free kick. At first, where I sit, you think, this is Nunes, but it's probably too far out on an angle. And it's a great delivery, brilliant delivery. Shout for a penalty, perhaps there. Kipre wins it at the back post. I think Hyam, to be fair, he's facing away and his arm's only slightly out. Hits his arm. It's not. I don't hit his arm towards the ball, and it just comes out as an angle. He's only like 2 or 3 yards out. Angle to McAteer. And he just wanted to really hook it in, and he sort of shanks it off the outside.
He could have let it. He didn't realise he could have let it drop even more.
I think he probably could have done.
Yeah.
But he hits again.
Snatches at it, doesn't he?
Snatches at it. No unconfidence. Snatches at it. Gets it slightly very wrong because and shanks it incredibly wide of the goal. I just couldn't believe that. Even for who I was, I couldn't believe that didn't go in. And that was basically it, really. Other than Broadhead making an appearance, 73 was it, something like that? 15, 20 minutes.
Good reception.
Oh yeah, he did, and when he did get a good reception. Yeah. Certainly when he came out, as a sub in front of us, he got a great reception actually. Yeah, so no axe to grind with him, have we really?
Summings up, Joe, and then we'll get into the bigger picture discussion of where we're at and what this type of performance means and what the patterns are. But one of those days, or something a bit deeper and more problematic to discuss?
I think it's one of those ones where if you look at it on paper at the stats and that we we looked like we did enough to win it. When you see how many shots we had, how many couple of big chances, a high XG, and hit the target with shots. But in the ground, it didn't feel like we'd done enough. It felt like, yeah, on paper we'd done enough, but actually we didn't stretch them enough. We didn't test them enough. We probably made, again, it's just all about execution, isn't it? And the execution was poor, whether it's sort of crosses, final balls, shots, everything that you need to do well. We didn't do well. I thought from back to front we played well. I thought Christian Walton had a decent game. I thought the defence moved the ball fast enough. The midfield were fine on the ball, did well. Matassi was wept up. It's just that front four would just miss. All four of them were misfiring, weren't they? And it wasn't until, I guess, when Clark and Nunez came on, they added a little bit of sort of impetus and life into it. But still, nothing really changed from that point, did it?
O'Shea was superb yesterday. Obviously, after he roughed up Ronaldo a couple of weeks ago, he was really good yesterday. Having said that, they didn't really pose much of a threat anyway. But yeah, he was good.
I guess another thing as well, like Darnell Furlong, because he's obviously tasked with a fair bit of attacking, and it's just not his game. He's a defensive fullback, and when they offered absolutely nothing effectively going forwards, he was just a spare player. I didn't see why maybe we didn't just try and get Ben Johnson or Ashley Young on there, players who've got a little bit more about them going forward, because there was just no defending to be done. He didn't have to do any defending all game. So maybe you could have just put on somebody who's got a little bit more quality in the final third.
So, what's the big problem here then, Dave? Because I feel we're kind of mixed between the building of the new team pattern of play situation and the new challenge of, well, okay, the task this season is to maybe scrape out 20 to 23 wins against teams that are in the main going to be defensive. I mean, you can give me a bit of both on those. What's the problem?
Honestly, Ben, it's a simple thing. It comes down to scoring a bloody first goal at home. Seriously, score the first goal. Score 10 minutes when you've got that so dominant with the ball. Get that first goal. They change their approach. It's a bit like the Watford game and other games. You're going to win that 2-3 or 4-0 probably, but it's just getting that. And you can see, the longer it goes on, the more confident they get, the low blocks in place, they're well organised, they're fighting for their point, and you can just see it all not going wrong, it's too strong, but yeah, just not working. Then we certainly just need to move the ball quicker. I watched the highlights and Coventry, Southampton, although Charlton, we'll get onto that in a minute, but just moving the ball really quicker through the final third, and we don't.
Yeah, you're right. I know Coventry are going to get brought up later, Joe, but teams that win the title, maybe that ship has sailed for us this season, but certainly teams that get automatic promotion come up against this a lot, and they often scrape through, but a lot of the times they just bang the door down continuously. Are we just not quite being aggressive enough, Joe? Is there not enough swagger and not enough bravery? Because I think you just need to put yourself out there to get that goal when you're up against a big side who's intent on defending.
Yeah, but I think sometimes the narrative of the game is sort of written after it, effectively.
100%.
Because we didn't get the goal, it then becomes a poor, slow, ponderous performance where if you score in the 80th minute and win 1-0 and maybe even go and get a second, it's like, we persisted.
That's the West Brom game, Joe.
We persisted until we broke them down. Really professional performance and got done and got over the line against a team that had no ambition. So it is fine margins, and I know it's boring for people to hear that and that things are going okay this year. I guess we're now in a position, and sort of Jack's put it in his blogs on the top tier blogs he does, and in the Telegram chat. I think we probably can accept now that we're not a swashbuckling team that's going to get 100 points, score 100 goals. We're not that good in this league. Sadly, we all hope we would be, and maybe thought we would be, but we're not. So it's just a case of being good enough now, not there. And I think I know not everyone loves the stats, but when you look at the stats, there's a clear best three teams in this league, and it's us, Coventry, and Birmingham. Well, Coventry are a long way ahead of us. So my concern is when I watch Birmingham at the moment, they seem to have that intangible spirit that's getting them over the line, getting them wins when maybe they don't deserve it always, or when you don't think they're going to get it, they get them. And we aren't getting that at the moment. So it's a case of can we hold off Birmingham? Because I think realistically that's probably who is going to be the next big, unless Southampton now, they've obviously won 3 on the bounce, whether they start to go to run now, because it looks like Coventry are just, I watched their game yesterday before ours. And
Oh, God.
2-0 down.
If they go to Middlesbrough on Tuesday and win, yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say at that point.
They're just like we were 2 seasons ago. They just find a way. You find a way. That game yesterday, all right, they were back in it, really. It was 2-1 before that Malumbi, but what a stupid sending off. On like, how many minutes was it? Hardly second half barely
50,
started.
50,
I mean, crikey. So he's been bugged, ridiculous. And you could just see it all unfolding. But, teams on a run like that, as we did 2 seasons ago, you just find a way. And we always did. And this season, we're not quite.
But bigger picture though, we are going in the right direction. It's now
we are
2 points a game since the end of the transfer window. 11 from the last 5 after that sort of horror couple of defeats on the bounce. Sort of 11 from 5. There we know what 3 away games coming up this week. If we win 2 of them, that's a good week, isn't it? So
I don't know where I land on that, Joe, because on the one hand, nobody other than Coventry is putting it together, which gives us more chance on the one hand because the opposition is less good, but it takes one automatic promotion place essentially out of the equation potentially, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? It gives with one hand and takes away with the other.
It does. But also the flip side of it is, had Southampton got their chisel together on day one, they could be up their level with Coventry and be and we could be chasing down. But if you think back in February in that League One season, Valentine's Day, when we went to Bristol Rovers and drew 0-0, we were 8 points behind Sheffield Wednesday in second, and they had a game in hand. So that was we had so much to do in that season, and I don't know. This maybe does just feel a little bit like that League One season where we're sort of the better team, but we're not quite getting enough, and it's frustrating, and it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and obviously we all hope that it clicks like it did in the spring that year. But I think it's going to be. I think the raised level of expectation does mean that sort of every drop point is seen as a disaster, and there's no sort of bigger picture, or there is some people looking at the bigger picture, but ultimately we're not happy where we are because we're 7th, aren't we, at the moment? But we have our game in hand next week, so it'd be good to be sort of back on terms of games with everyone from there. And realistically, we'll probably be in the top 6 by this time next week.
Joe's always got a knack of making us all feel better. He really has. Yeah.
I was going to say though, Dave, talking about the expectations and maybe some of our fan base struggling to cope with not even losing, but failure to win this season. Are some clubs just better when they're underdogs? Are we?
Of course they are.
Are we? Yeah. Are we one of them where when the
honestly
expectations are off and we're the little guy punching up, we love it, but
you're playing with it. You a couple of seasons ago, you had that first part of the season. You're playing without pressure. Really, the pressure really didn't. Come in. All right, you got the big old defeat by Leeds at Christmas. We had a bit of a sticky spell around them, but we were just consistent right the way through. And like I said, it came into the spring and that run in, and you just Bristol City, obviously Southampton, Port. No, that season before, but you just found a way to win games, and that is such an important thing. And I think certainly as playing as underdogs, as we were, because no one expected us to go right through. Of course, you just don't have the pressure. We were everybody's favourites at the start of the season. We've spent X amount of millions. I think as far as we all think we probably have got the strongest, most in-depth squad of everybody. And when it doesn't quite work, of course, questions are going to be asked.
And also the crowd as well. And it's not to criticise the crowd, but every time in the Championship it felt like a big game and there was a big crowd and everyone turned up in good voice. Where now it's expectation. We've been unlucky that we've had a lot of sort of 12:30 kickoffs at home, which never have the best atmosphere. And yesterday was obviously a total. When we talk about it being a damp squib, the weather was awful. You sort of get there and it just did not stop raining the whole game, and there wasn't really anything for the crowd to get excited by. And whether the team should be leading the crowd or the crowd leading the team is something that people will debate till the end of time. But it was flat. It was very flat. The performance on the pitch looked flat. The stands were flat. There wasn't really much atmosphere there. There wasn't that raw to get us the victory, which we'd been so good at in the League One and Championship seasons previously. But the players were giving us more, and the crowd were giving the players more. But like here, West Brom, where McKenna did have a sort of bite at the crowd after that game. Even Watford, there hasn't been a good atmosphere really at Portman Road this season, other than the Norwich game.
A different time and a different challenge, but it was Ipswich 0, Wrexham 0. And the good thing with the Championship is, and this is where you play your big picture games, that if you knock out a win or 2 more wins in the next 2 games, the week looks absolutely fine. So context is king and all, even after a 0-0 draw at home. Here is a word from our show partners at Atwell's.
Blue Monday is brought to you in partnership with Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for property and business law. Whether you're buying a home, starting a business, or just need legal guidance, our dedicated team has got you covered. Trust our award-winning customer service team to handle your legal matters with care and expertise. Find out more at atwells.com or visit us at our offices in Ipswich, Colchester, London, and our new location in Woodbridge.
All right, loads going on across our Blue Monday platform as ever in a 3-game week and right the way through to the end of the year and beyond. You can get involved. Everything that has always been free here on YouTube and on your podcast apps is still always free, but you can sign up for Telegram or as a YouTube member, which gives you access to our top tier content, which will include Beyond the Scoreline, a bit more of a data-led look at the weekend fixture. That's coming out tomorrow on top tier. The Hull preview as well and live reaction. I think that might be free to access as well. We're just figuring out some availability issues. There's free 5 gifted memberships there, so you can go and sample it if you're here live and in the flesh on YouTube. Pre-match is on the normal slot of Thursday, even though we're playing Friday with Seb and Rich. And there'll be the weekend preview on top tier. That will be on Friday. And then we will be back, myself, David Diamond and Joe Fairs, this coming weekend. Who are we playing? Oxford on Friday night. Too many games for me to think about. Get primed for your questions. We'll just go through what else went down in the EFL Championship as we returned for round 16 and the international break came to an end. It was Preston 1, Blackburn 2 on Friday. Bristol City 3, Swansea 0. Charlton 1, Southampton 5. Southampton scored 4 goals in 8 minutes in the first half in that game. Coventry 3, West Brom 2. 9 wins in 10 games for Coventry. I'll always receive all the it's too early to ... comments, but it doesn't matter at what point in the season you win 9 out of 10 games. It tends to have a rather similar effect whenever you do it. Birmingham 4, Norwich 1, Derby 2, Watford 3. 3-3-2s this round as well. Leicester 2, Stoke 1. Stoke finally, after 6 months of waiting, have their PSR hearing this week. But they will be contesting it, apparently, so we won't get an outcome for that until probably into the new year. Oxford 1, Borough 1, Pompey 3, Millwall 1, QPR 3, Hull 2. We play Hull, and they are box office, guys. 55 goals in Hull's 16 games so far. 28 for, 27 against, and Joe Gelhardt, striker in red hot form there. And today in the Steel City derby, Sheffield Wednesday 0, Sheffield United 3. Joe Fairs, who do you want to talk about out of that lot? Get your questions primed. I'll ask for them in a minute, guys.
I guess I've sort of covered Birmingham already, but yeah, I think they are looking. I think that's the 3rd home game in a row. I won't say the stadium name where they've scored 4 goals in a home game, and yeah, tough start for Norwich. And they've got, I think they play Oxford this week, don't they?
Oh, that's big.
Oxford on Tuesday, and they're 5
I can't lose that, Joe.
Yeah,
Cannot lose that.
If they lose that, they're in such big trouble. But yeah, Birmingham are my team to watch.
And Joe,
at the moment,
David Diamond always talks about how sometimes you lay your plans out at the start of the season and you stumble across your formula. Feels like that's what Birmingham have done now with Dukes up front and Stansfield off him. Doyle, they took a while. They've put Iwata, the midfielder, is now the right back. And I think they're just going to ride that out. Now, I think they're quite close on their PSR limit for spending this year. So I think if he could ride out that team for the remainder of the season, he will, Joe.
Yeah, but it's goals, isn't it? And Stansfield's never been a great goal scorer. He got a few last year, a lot of those were penalties. But this Dukes, the sort of German, seems to be sort of the man that they wanted, and he had a good record in the Bundesliga before he came over. Yeah, but no, Birmingham are looking really, really good at the moment, and that's probably the worry that whilst we're sort of reeling the teams in above us slowly, they are as well. Southampton have got the potential to do so if they just keep things going as they are. Yeah, so it's not good. Hopefully Leicester get a points deduction, as sort of mentioned, sort of 6, 9, 12.
No,
anything would be helpful.
Playing very well, Leicester, I've got to say.
No, but they're still accumulating points, aren't they?
Well, they are. Yeah, fair enough.
Southampton, Leicester this week, isn't it? Midweek, I think.
Good point. Yeah. They play one another. What would you make of Southampton, though, Dave, where Will Still was doing the thing where you have the high XG and you never win and you somehow manage to not win. And then the under-21s guy comes in and just scoring loads of goals and winning all their games straight after.
Probably Will Still was really unlucky. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it starts some great movement. But some of those fellows on the wing and an absolute field day by the look of it. And Armstrong's just quite sharp skill. A wily championship player, I'd say, but yeah, very good player. Yeah, they look really good. Cheltenham's defending left a lot to be desired, but yeah, they're coming on. Obviously, Leicester ground out the win, didn't they, over Stoke? But yeah, I mean, crikey, Norwich are in a world, as you quite rightly say, a world of pain there. And I think, Oxford this midweek, and then QPR, I think, at home next weekend. I mean, if they don't take 4 points, probably 4 from them, yeah, they're in a world of pain.
Yeah, your games you're starting to tick them off, aren't you? Joe, just talk to me quickly in respect of what we were saying about it being an open door, and you look directly above us in the league, and you go Millwall, Hull, Preston. You know, as the next 3 teams above us, Bristol City maybe a little better, and we've obviously got this run now, Joe, where we play 3 sides above us pretty quickly, don't we? We play Hull, Coventry, and Stoke across the next 5 games, and I think this is where always annoys me. Every year, someone tries to tell me this is but normally on the same day, someone will tell me this is the best championship ever, and then they'll tell me this is the worst championship ever. But it does feel like it's just there if you can, go and head to head against Hull and Stoke. Do you know what I mean, Joe? When you look directly ahead of you, we've got such a higher ceiling compared to the teams right in front of us, haven't we? Yeah,
and you look at the league table now. I think if we win our game in hand, we'd go 3rd, wouldn't we? 3rd or 4th. And you just think, well, we haven't really got going yet, and we'd be sort of 3rd and 4th for the league if we win our game in hand. And you think, well, I know we keep saying we've not got going yet, and we're going to need to start getting going. But the fact that sort of playing as we are, maybe things not being quite right, we're still ticking along at sort of 2 points a game for now. 11 games? Is it 10, 11 games now we've been at 2 points a game for? And you think, well, this is the base level of quality in our squad is giving us that. So it's just a case of now finding a way to move above and actually become equal to the sum of our parts, let alone sort of more than the sum of our parts. Just getting equal to it would be a good start at the moment, wouldn't it?
Dave, what's your take just quickly before we go to get your questions in, by the way, guys, and we'll get Richard to star some of them in the chat. Just how challenging, because it was going to be the 3-game week, then a gap, and then a 3-game week. Obviously, the Blackburn game slots in there. So we basically play Saturday midweek, Saturday midweek, Saturday midweek, Saturday midweek. And there's 3 away games in a row, and one's in Hull and one's in Blackburn as well, Dave. So we've got to account for this is not a nice run logistically, is it, coming up?
But, I mean, again, look at our bench yesterday, Ben. We've got the depth of squad. We should have the depth of squad to deal with that. Who've we got long-term? What's Smodics? You'd still say Burns, obviously, is still longish term. I know he's back in training. Obviously, Harry Clark is fit again, Joe, I think, pretty much.
Yeah, seems to be. Yeah, he's playing
not
21 fixtures. I think he'll be off in January.
Yeah, I think, and obviously, the Palmer. So, I'd expect quite a bit of rotation on quite a bit. Something, no doubt, the question will come up. I expect quite a bit more rotation on Tuesday against Hull. Certainly, you'd think people
They
like
are
Hurst.
good.
I don't know, and absolutely, I'm
Yeah.
saying they're not. It's going to entertain and chew. Obviously, 0-0 draw incoming, but
No, all our away games are 4-1 away wins. So
well, there you go. So it should be an absolute corker. So looking forward to it. But yeah, look, we've got the depth. We should have the depth of squad to deal with that. But no doubt there'll be.
Dave, don't we historically suck at Hull? Other than that amazing 3-3 draw in the promotion.
Didn't we have a stupid win?
Franny Jeffers.
Didn't we have a stupid win? Didn't Norwood score? We won 1-0. Was that in our relegation? Was that our relegation season?
No, I mean,
that was in League One.
Lovely ball from Miles Kenlock over to him.
Was that in League One? Was it?
I think they won the league.
Norwood in League One.
I think they did.
Yeah, I think Grant McCann and
I remember
Keane
the
Lewis Potter and Jacob Greaves won them the league, didn't they?
I think it was one of the games where effectively Paul Lambert had given up, so the assistant was in charge. Who was it? Matt Gill. The one who's with Russell Up. Yeah, Matt Gill was effectively in charge of the game, and we won that one. And
the one who's having therapy after his Glasgow experience.
I mean, if the game is as good as the three thwarter game, the narrative of the game as well was just crazy. So who would the Hutchison equivalent be? Oh, Wally Egley. If Wally Egley can score a couple like that, I think we'll be more than
Philogene against
Philogene. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Philogene. I'm just talking about coming off the right, but yeah. Obviously against a lot of narrative there. Obviously Philogene, potentially Greaves playing against his former club. So yeah, interesting one. Should be a good game, that one.
Right, let's do some questions. Keep them coming in the comments. We've done well, boys. 46 minutes, 0-0 draw. We're pretty well on schedule. Joe, Blagger 101. Have we reached the time to try Egley as the number 10? That's your first question, boys, about the number 10 spot.
Yeah, well, him and Nunes, when they played, they seem to link quite well and sort of interchange with each other, and they seem to have formed a really good partnership quite quickly. So possibly, but because ultimately Akpom isn't really working there, Smolix isn't fit. I know Smolix hasn't scored, but he seemed to come a lot closer. But we are very much in the proverbial just need one to go in off their arse territory for a few players in that sort of attacking lineup. And other than sort of the left wing, the right hand side and the number 10 role hasn't offered a huge amount, have they? So something needs to happen there, doesn't it?
Scully was convinced that Philogene should be playing there.
Jack Clark's played inside a couple of times, hasn't he, as well?
Yes.
Come on,
yeah,
so.
yeah.
I do think you're almost in the stage of just trying to get your best players on the pitch as well with Philogene and Jack Clark, because they both make things happen.
Yeah.
Interesting. Trevor, Dave, do you think Akpom's loan will end in January? Isn't there a back end thing on this loan deal as well?
I think so, isn't it? I think I thought we
had a promotion. Getting promoted though.
Joe would, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if we get promoted, we sign him for 6 million or something along those lines.
Right.
Okay.
I don't think it will or can end.
No, that's what I'm saying. Surely if that's it can't end, can it?
I don't know. Let's move on then. That one fell on deaf ears a bit. Joe, Ryan, the noise on socials wants more signings in January, along with having 2 right backs on the bench on big money. Is this an admission that our recent recruitment has been poor?
I guess most teams' recruitment, if they sort of hit 50% good signings, is seen as a success in the industry. So yeah, there are and the mistakes you make when you're a Premier League team are always going to be more expensive than mistakes you make when you're a League One or non-parachute championship team, which you were in the past. So when you sign a bad player, it didn't really hurt you that much. When you sign Dane Scarlett on loan and you have to send him back even before he's up, when you don't have another striker fit, you don't worry because it doesn't cost you a lot. But when you've signed Casey McAteer for 12 million quid and he's not pulling up any trees yet, it is a bigger issue. But I think we all said at the end of the window, I wasn't that comfortable with how we'd left ourselves in the sort of 9 and 10 roles, and it's sort of come to pass really. Like George Hurst has done fine, probably been one of our better attackers, but I think we needed someone to push him a bit harder. And I don't really like the balance of Smodics and Akpom in that 10 role. I prefer a player like Chaplin or like Amari Hutchinson playing in that role where they're sort of more of a knit it together a little bit more. I think we need someone maybe more of that ilk than what is a second striker, because if you're a second striker and you're not scoring any goals, you're not doing anything really, are you?
And a bit more off the cuff as well. Chaplin, example.
Your favourite type of player, DD. If we skip intro, if we make more signings in January, who leaves to make space in the squad, David? Not Akpom, according to the last answer.
No, not Akpom. Ben Johnson, you would think, probably. Yeah, Harry Clark, as Joe said. So there's two to kick off with. Yeah,
Wes Burns.
Bless Wes. Yeah, probably
up in the summer, isn't it? So
yeah.
Well, I can put two questions together here for you then, Joe. Gary says, will Chaplin be back in January? And Neil says, a lot of debate about having Chaplin and Burns would make the difference. What do you think? I'm not accusing the questioners of this, but let's be fair. I do it myself, especially with people like Broadhead and Burgess and Morsey. And
it's your heart. It's coming from the heart, isn't it?
Do we need to move on from the double promotion team?
Yeah.
They're still etched into our hearts, aren't they?
Yeah, I think Wes Burns probably can. He's very unlucky that he got the bad injuries last year against Liverpool, because I think even at that stage in the Premier League, sort of the couple of games where he got injured against Chelsea, he really looked at home in the Premier League there. And if he can come back to anything like the level he was at before and can get up to that speed, then yeah, he'll be a big player for us. And maybe that is the rejigger up front on that right hand side we need, where Eggerly comes across to the 10, and you've then got Burns and McAteer fighting it out for that right hand side role and go from there. Because I know I just mentioned him as one that potentially leaves in January, but that's sort of more looking at circumstance. He's got 6 months left in his deal. Casey McAteer's been signed for 12 million quid and has got 4.5 years, I don't know, on his deal, but he's got a long-term contract, so he's going to be the one that gets the opportunities, you'd imagine. But I think if Burns gets a look in and can play like he always has done for us, then yeah, he'll be a big player for us again. And I'd love for that to be the case, because he's got such a brilliant story. He was a guy that was just milling around in League One, really. He wasn't young. His career had sort of dwindled. Well, I'd say dwindled, still an excellent level as a career to play at League One. So sort of not denigrating that. But for him to then go from there to be a Premier League player with us and look decent when he's in the Premier League as well at times. And you hope someone like him can come back. I feel like Connor Chaplin, I think there's probably the ship has sailed a little bit maybe with Connor Chaplin, which is sad, but I think he's less likely to come back and less likely to be a longer term Ipswich player.
I think Trevor makes a good point in the chat there about Burns. It's ACL injury is a bad enough injury, but for a winger that really is reliant on pretty explosive pace.
Not a dribbly winger either, Dave.
No, it's such a difficult one. And like Joe said, God, I'd love him to come back. We love him. We love his directness. But it's such a big injury for somebody to attain that level that he had from an ACL. For a winger is tough for any player, but especially for a winger.
It is different now with the ACLs, isn't it? They're not a career.
Well, not career ending. No, they're not.
Are they? So I think maybe more like Ogbene when that Achilles. That's probably a bigger injury to go with. Isn't it? ACL, they're sort of almost quite common now, aren't they? So you'd hope that. Getting people back is that from there, but I just don't know if we'll see it, because I don't think he'll get the chance to get himself back up to speed, because we need it for the now, and McAteer's probably ahead of him in the now because of his fitness mainly at the moment, and he's the one who's got the long-term contract and big transfer fee on his head, so he's going to be given every opportunity, isn't he? So Wes Burns might find he just doesn't get the opportunities.
I'll repurpose Jack's question here. He's talking about our track record signing in January. And to be fair, Dave, lots of people would kind of argue that it was a big turning point in both of the promotions. Obviously, Broadhead and Luongo and Clark arriving in one, and
Hurst.
Yeah, Hurst on loan, as well. And having to do the Kiefer Moore deal in the Championship. Was there another one in January as well? That
Al-Hamadi, Sarmiento, and Travis.
Sarmiento, be still.
Oh, yeah, of course.
My beating heart, my God. But Dave, I keep talking about this week. It's a different time and a different situation, isn't it? But it has been, good ground for us making good deals in January, hasn't it?
And we've said pretty much in every pod recently, when this question has come up, where do we need a strengthen? You'd think surely we'd be busting a gut to get in a 9. Surely, absolutely nailed on. So that would certainly be our main priority, and probably another left-sided defender as well. So as probably cover for Davis as well. So yeah, a big play for a number 9, you would think.
Do you think there's PSR headroom, Joe, in January?
I think you can always find a way, can't you? Especially if you think we've sold Delap and Hutchinson this season, so there must be a fair amount of flexibility to do a deal there on a sort of longer term contract.
Thank you, everybody, for your brilliant questions as ever, and thank you each and every week. We have tons of people watching the show live. If you are here right now, keep that chat moving and the debate going. Give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button while you are there as well. So, Dave, how do you approach now? And I don't want to retread old ground, but we go to Hull, which is possibly the hardest of the 3 away games, and then you play Oxford, but it's earlier. It's not on a Saturday, and then you have to go to Blackburn. I mean, Joe's mentioned the 2 points per game targets. Obviously, we can't do 6 for the week because we've started with a 1-pointer. But how do you see the approach going on Tuesday, given that you're pretty much in for recovery, and then you're probably short session and then travelling again, aren't you?
Yeah, you are. Well, I say approach. I think there'll be some rotation, maybe. I thought 2 or 3, perhaps, for sure. You just go. I mean, we just play as we have done in the last couple of away games. We've been controlled. All right. I think Hull, as you quite rightly said, will pose different problems than QPR and Swansea. But we've got to have confidence on those last 2 away games going to these carrying into these next 3. So just and we just seem to play without. To me, I mean, maybe because you're not playing against so much of a low block, except we just seem to play with more freedom away at the moment.
Joe, surely Hull are a much better opponent for us. They're so much more open than a lot of the teams we've gone against, don't they?
Yeah, when you look at their sort of numbers, sort of expected and actual numbers defensively, they are almost one of the worst teams in the league, and they're sort of
Hughes is a good player.
Yeah, but I mean, as a structured defense, structured defense, they concede a huge amount of chances. When you look at going forwards, that they're massively overperforming their attacking numbers and underperforming the right way for defensive numbers. So that they're a team that you could probably go and beat them 4-5-0 and it not be that sort of unusual a scoreline to see what could happen up there. But on the flip side, they do seem to just score goals from half chances, and sort of Joe Gelhardt's getting a lot of goals, and Joseph up there as well, who's playing well. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting game, but hopefully it's one where if they defend like they normally defend, we should be able to pick them apart and try to ensure that we are solid at the other end.
Well, surely, Dave, at least we're not going to see a low block on Tuesday, are we?
No, I don't think so. No, probably not. You'd think Oxford potentially
might. I think Mr. Rowett, you might, yeah.
Yeah, Blackburn might be an interest. Might well.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, well. I mean,
that'd be fun. Yeah,
Ismail is going to be properly fired up for that, isn't he? And get them fired up as well. So yeah, that could be some blood and thunder up there next week for sure.
Right, round this out then, boys. I do think the story of the moment, Joe, is expectations versus output versus doing enough. Just sum up your feelings, because I know there's some despondency, let's just say, in the fan base at the moment.
We're not as good as we hoped we would be this season. We're not the sort of swashbuckling team that's going to get 100 points and score 100 goals. But
say thank you to NPR quickly for me.
Thank you, NPR, for the
NPR.
Huge one. Look at that, $19.99. Thank you. Sorry, Kieran, Joe.
Massive.
Yeah. Like, so we're not as good as we hoped we'd be, but we're still more than good enough to be an automatic promotion contender in this league, and that's the target. That's what we're going for. And if we keep accumulating points the way we have done since the end of the transfer window, we will be right up there come the end of the season. But I guess we just need to find that way to make sure we get over the line. and that's not just this season. That's just in games as well.
Yeah, right.
Getting that, and I think that's just a learned behaviour, isn't it? It's you can't. Once you start doing it, then you do it more and more. It becomes a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. So hopefully we can get to that way soon and win some tight games.
My favourite type of prophecy, Dave. Are you despondent, or do you understand the despondency? Do you want to wrap us up here, Dave?
I think we totally understand the despondency, or even the dependency, or the dependency. But as we said, look, that all comes with expectation. It all comes with money spent. What's happened over the previous, well, maybe not last season, seasons before that, all comes with expectation. Before I go, can I just, I never remember to do this. Can I give a couple of shout outs? One to Julian Took, lad who comes down from Manchester for the games, originally from Ipswich.
I'm going to Manchester in the morning, actually.
Comes to Manchester for the games and caught up with me and Rich and his pal from Manchester. And I think Clacton yesterday at the pub. Great to see him. And also, this is even more bizarre, hi to Dan, who I was having a curry just opposite Liverpool Street in Spitalfields on Thursday evening, I think. Just paying for a meal, comes up and said, "Oh yeah, follow the pod from Glasgow. He's down in London. Didn't quite get to the point while he's down in London, but hi to Dan as well, and thanks for subscribing, listening, whatever."
There you go. Thank you, everybody. And yeah, hang on in there. 3-game week coming. More points possibly coming. Fingers crossed. But it was 0-0 between Ipswich and Wrexham. And that has been Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. We'll see you through the week as the action continues thick and fast.